In this video, Sam Shamoun debates Muslim about Islam faith.
Glory be to the one who took his servant by night from the sacred mosque to the farthest mosque, whose surroundings we have blessed,
You finish it.
so that we may show him some of our signs. Indeed, he alone is the all-hearing, all-seeing.
Okay, now, the Quran just said, it's perfectly clear. It explains everything in it, all things in it, perfectly clearly. That's what it said in those verses, then it contradicted itself. So if the Quran is perfectly clear and explains all things, can you tell me, just from the Quran, who that servant is? Do you have the answer for that just from the Quran?
We know the Prophet.
Prove it. How do you know that? Where did the Quran say it's the Prophet? Why are you reading later hadiths into this? Because when you go to the hadiths, it's going to embarrass you. That's why I'm saying be careful. Don't run to the hadith. So from that verse alone, can you prove to me it's Muhammad? No,
Well, we know it's Muhammad.
How do you know that? Where did the Quran tell you it's Muhammad? The name Muhammad only appears 4 times in your entire Quran. How do you know it's Muhammad?
No.
How do you know? I'm still waiting for the answer. How do you know? Okay, now, related to the same verse, it says, who took his servant by night from the inviolable mosque to the farthest mosque. Masjid al-Haram, Masjid al-Aqsa. Where is Masjid al-Haram? Can you show me from the Quran where and what is Masjid al-Haram? From the Quran.
It's in Saudi Arabia.
Where did the Quran say Saudi Arabia? Where does that verse say Saudi Arabia?
It doesn't say that, but I know Masjid al-Haram is mentioned.
And where does it tell you Masjid al-Haram is in Arabia? Secondly, what's the farthest mosque? Masjid al-Aqsa. Where is that at?
Jerusalem.
Where did the verse say Jerusalem? Why are you making things up as you go along? Where did that verse say Jerusalem?
Well, this verse doesn't say Jerusalem.
But the Quran told you in those 6 or more verses that you read, and I have a lot more, it explains all things in this book. It's perfectly clear and perfectly clearly explains the verses. How come it fails to explain this verse for you? And it's less than perfectly clear. Okay, now I got even more problems with the verse. Okay, now who's saying in 17 verse 1, glory be to him? Who's speaking?
Allah.
So Allah is speaking to himself and glorifying himself.
Yeah.
Oh, you're okay with it. So you're okay with Allah saying, glory be to him, instead of saying, glory be to me, who carried my servant by night. So Allah has to speak of himself in the third person?
Yeah, that's how Allah refers to himself.
Okay,
Sam.
well, good. I'm glad you said Allah. But then Allah goes on to say, so that we might show him some of our signs. So Allah is saying, glory be to him, which is me, who carried his servant by night, which is my servant, from the inviolable mosque to the farthest mosque, whose precincts we blessed, so we might show him.
I'll admit, this verse doesn't explain the locations.
No, but that's even more than that. What I'm asking is, why can't Allah simply...
Reading that to you. You tried to get me busted with that. I'm saying, yeah, if you're taking this verse in isolation of itself...
Even in the context of the Quran, you're not going to be able to figure out, because there's nothing in the Quran and other verses that tell you what this means.
I have to investigate that.
Keep investigating. But don't forget 2 points. This is the same Quran that told you it is a book that explains all things and is perfectly clear and perfectly clearly explains its verses. Yet it doesn't. But here's the point I want you to focus on, so we can go to another example. Focus on this point with me. Allah saying to himself, glory be to him, which is actually me, who carried his servant by night, which is my servant, from the inviolable mosque to the farthest mosque. And now notice Allah says, whose precincts we blessed. Now, but pay attention to this part. So that we might show him our signs, ayat. Right? Do you see Allah says we might show him?
Yeah.
Okay, now here's my question. If you're following the Arabic and the English. So he goes, we might show him our signs. He is the seer. Wait, so the one that Allah is showing his signs, Allah just says about him, the one that he showed his miracles to, he, the one we showed our signs to, he's the seer, the knower? Who's that?
Yeah, I figured, I had a feeling you might bring that up.
Okay, then you're addressing.
But that's ambiguous.
Yeah, but my point is, the he is the him. We might show him. You keep forgetting that, our signs. If that's Allah, Why would Allah need Allah to show him miracles? Allah showing himself miracles?
You know what? Hold on.
Yeah, exactly. Hold on. But if it's Muhammad,
so let me see if I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
What I gather from what you're saying is that it says, so that we, that being Allah, referring to himself,
we show
him our signs. And the claim is, indeed, he alone is all-seeing, all-hearing, all-seeing.
And who's the
But
he?
you're saying, why would Allah, after just saying we, say he?
No, it's more than that. Allah says we showed him our signs, and then speaking of him, he says he, the him that we showed our signs to, he is the all-seeing, the all-knowing. Who's the he and the him?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
If they want, that's the point I'm getting at.
Okay, so who's the he and the him? Because it's the same him and he in the same sentence. It doesn't change. Him we showed our signs. He is the seer. So it's the same entity. So who is it? We're still trying to figure it out. If it's Muhammad, then Muhammad is all-seeing. If it's Allah, then Allah's being shown miracles.
You're claiming that this last sentence means that that it's referring to Muhammad alayhi salam.
If it's Muhammad, then Muhammad is the seer and the knower. So you made him God. You made him an ilah.
Why wouldn't he say, indeed, we are the all-hearing, all-knowing?
Thank you. You got it. So the him and the he is the same person. If it's Muhammad, then Muhammad is all-seeing. If it's Allah, then Allah is being shown miracles by someone else.
I have to ask the Shaykh about this. Right. So this is 17:1. So look how 17:2 mentions Moses' name.
Thank you. So that means Moses is a servant of verse 1. Prove me wrong. That's what I'm saying. If you just follow your Quran, you can't tell me the servant is Muhammad. It's most likely Moses because he's mentioned right away. And it's dealing with the Bani Israel, the children of Israel. So prove to me the servant is Muhammad.
Don't try to do the work of Shaitan.
What Shaitan? You're asking me to show you contradictions. If I'm Shaitan...
No, don't play with my brain.
I'm not playing with your brain. You asked for this. So that means you want Shaitan to keep you deceived into thinking the Quran is true, whereas we want to try to show you Jesus is the truth, not the Quran. But let's not go there. First, let's finish the point. Do you want to go outside of the Quran and go to the Hadith to explain this? We can do that. You want me to show you
the Hadith or the Tafsir?
Oh, either one, because the Tafsir is quoting the Hadith, like Ibn Kathir. According to Ibn Kathir, you know what this is referring to? That this is referring to Muhammad when he was taken from the Kaaba to Bayt al-Maqdis. Bayt al-Maqdis, meaning, it's also called Bayt al-Muqaddas. Bayt al-Maqdis, Bayt al-Muqaddas, the temple in Jerusalem. So Ibn Kathir says, and all the commentators, not only him, this is when in Medina, your prophet was taken from the Kaaba, Masjid al-Haram, to Masjid al-Aqsa, which is Bayt al-Muqaddas, Bayt al-Maqdis in Jerusalem, the temple in Jerusalem, right?
Yeah.
Problem is there was no temple in Jerusalem. The temple was destroyed twice. The first temple was destroyed 586 years before the birth of Jesus. The second temple was destroyed in 70 AD, 40 years after Jesus went to heaven. So what temple did he go? There was no temple. So that's why I say if we go to your commentators, it's going to get worse for you.
70 AD?
Yep. There was no temple when Muhammad supposedly went to Jerusalem, because Ibn Kathir says he went to Jerusalem on Buraq with Gabriel, and he tied Buraq to the door, entered into the temple, and led the prophets in prayer. There was no temple for him to enter. And then the mosque that's now known as Masjid al-Aqsa, the Masjid al-Aqsa that you now can visit in Jerusalem, that was built by Abdul Malik around 691 AD, about 6 years after your prophet died. So what temple did he visit? What temple? So what mosque did he visit?
But do you have evidence of that?
Yeah, Ibn Kathir tells me that he went to the temple, he went inside the temple, and he prayed with the prophets, and all the commentators say that. Ibn Ashaq, there is no temple. This is just a fact of history. When Omar ibn al-Khattab conquered Jerusalem, the site of the temple where it stood was a waste dump. That's where they dumped their garbage, and he had to clean it out.
That's a fact of history?
That's according to your history. Didn't Omar conquer Jerusalem?
Yeah.
Okay. When he went to the Temple Mount, where the temple used to stand, he found it as the waste dump, where they would dump their garbage. The holy house at that time did not exist. This is the mistake in your hadith and in your commentators. They're telling you went to a house that historically did not exist. This is a fact of history, dude.